times of recession, is monetary policy always better than financial policy? Because in the past years, Chinese has adopted lots of financial policies. I mean, huge investments in infrastructure, causing lots of the overheat of the real estate market, and also causing lots of overinvestment. But on the contrary, the Federal Reserve adopted lots of the monetary policies like QE, and seems that U.S. economy is recovering very soon. I mean, so does that imply that monetary policy is always better than financial policies?
So I think you mean I think you mean fiscal policy. So spending as opposed to moving around prices, moving around the interest rate. I think in general the reverse is true. That monetary policy, lowering these interest rates in the United States to zero, okay, has caused asset prices to rise, okay, but it has not caused very much robust employment, actually, and it has caused a lot of other consequences for the rest of the world too. The reason that the Fed did monetary policy, and the reason the European Central Bank and the Bank of England, they're all doing zero interest rates, right, is because the governments, the politics of doing fiscal policy are too hard, okay, that they can't get agreement because that means running deficits. And these governments are afraid of having more debt. So the challenges of government finance are causing the central bank to do more than it really wants to do. Okay, the central banks do not want to be pushing that hard on the economy, but they are the last resort. So if no one else is doing their job, the central banker will do what's needed to keep the system going, even if it causes more distortions and more problems down the road. I'm not a huge fan of this quantitative easing, as you'll see later on in the course. It's a very different thing, quantitative easing, than what happened in the crisis. Dealer of last resort, catching a collapsing money market is one, and that was great. That was quite appropriate. But then using the Fed's balance sheet to try to cause, increasing employment, this is much more loose. It's not clear that that's what the Fed should be doing very, very much. But I would say even more generally, the question of how to do monetary policy in this brave new financially globalized world, I think we don't know. Where the Fed is experimenting, the ECB is experimenting, everyone is experimenting. The monetary transmission mechanism, that's the code word, okay, isn't what we thought it was 20 years ago. It's not that clear how what the Fed does leads to employment. What is the actual mechanism? And we're again back in a primitive place, trying to build our knowledge for the future, but in real time and with real decisions. So it's not easy to be a central banker these days.